So going for a little ride today, track day tomorrow, so I'm just kind of going over the old logs and making some changes. So adding some timing. I think I'm going to keep the boost where it's at. It's at like 16 pounds, and I'm going to put some more timing in it because it was only on like 11 degrees. So 12 degrees. So I'm going to put like another 2 to 3 degrees in it, so it should be around 15 to 16 above 6,000 RPM, and we're going to start there. And then I also am going to adjust the two-step. So last time when I was launching, I was only at 2,500 RPM. Like, I can foot brake it higher than that, but that's just where I rough set the two-step and didn't even mess with it. So I'm gonna try to get it to like 3,500 and be able to build like 5 or 6 pounds and leave the boost the same, add a little timing, and get the launch a little bit better. So that's the goal for the day. I got it kind of figured out. I pulled some timing in the spot that it's trying to build because I can't get the two-step above like 3,000. I have it set at 3,100 right now, and it wants to keep pushing through the brakes. So I like standing on the brake as hard as I can. If I drop the pedal really fast, then it'll actually get on the two-step before it pushes through. So I pulled like 10 degrees of timing out of that section that's happening in, and I was actually able to build like 4 pounds. So I got the camera set up outside. Also, I'm gonna kind of compare the videos of the track versus this and see what they look like. Alrighty guys, these are usually my favorite videos to edit because they have footage from 2 different cameras, pictures, overlays, voiceovers, screen captures, and they take forever to edit. But I wanted to show you some things. So this was my second pass the other day when I did 11.8. So this is on 16 pounds. This is where the truck is at now. And what I wanted to show you in relation to the launch was, if we look when it switches to 1 mile an hour right here, the time is right at 15.0 seconds. And then if we go to 30 miles an hour, that's what I'm using as a reference, it's at 16.8. So it takes 1.8 seconds to get to 30 miles per hour before I made any changes to the timing and the two-step. So before, what I had it doing, I had it switching back and forth between timing tables. So when it would see 1 mile an hour, it would switch back and start to ramp the timing in. But you can see this timing line here, it has low timing, it's building boost, but then it takes almost 4/10 of a second to ramp the timing back in after it sees 1 mile an hour. So it took 1.8 seconds to get to 30 miles an hour. And now I'll open the one after I made the change to that timing table, so it's not wanting to see speed to change back and forth between the tables, and I adjusted the two-step. So I just gave you a little hint there with this 1.6 seconds to 30 miles per hour. I bet you can figure out how long it's going to take. So if we go 1 mile an hour, right there we're at 54.0 seconds. And then if we go to 30 miles per hour, that's at 55.6. So this is 0.2 of a second difference. Same wastegate boost controller settings. I changed the timing a little bit. Now you can see when it's launching, it's actually launching on 25 degrees instead of 8 degrees, and it's not wanting to see a 1 mile an hour change before it starts going. So just to 30 miles an hour, it's 0.2 of a second faster based on these scans. So it should help at the track.
All right, guys, so back home now. It felt pretty good today, but while I was driving around, I did notice the wideband kind of once in a while it would bounce around a little bit. So I thought that was a little bit strange. And when I did go to the 210s, it was running rich for a little while, like especially at idle, it was running rich until I was able to work that stuff out. So one of the other things that was happening when I went to the 210s, there was a little bit of a miss when I was driving around, and I talked about that in another video. But I also had really high fuel pressure at that time, and I had a smaller plug gap. So I lowered the fuel pressure and opened the plug gap to 24 thousandths. The miss went away. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a brand new set of spark plugs in and gap them back down to 20 thousandths with the lower fuel pressure. So when I was pulling the plugs out, I found something. So you can see here's the plugs on the driver's side. 7, 5, and then here's number 3. So it's really black and dark, and it was kind of wet when I pulled it out. So hopefully that's just like a rich misfire that was happening because of the tune when I first started up after putting the 210s in and driving around a little bit like that. But all the other ones look fine. So I'm going to pull the passenger side out now. Had a spare set of BR7 EFs laying around, so I'm just going to toss these in there and we'll see what happens. Oh, and unfortunately the track day was canceled tomorrow, so I was doing some preparation today to go to the track tomorrow. It was canceled, but next Friday there will be Friday and Saturday. There's actually 2 different events, so I'll be able to make to at least one of them, maybe both. So hopefully we can get some stuff done and then get this thing a little bit better. It's on 16 pounds, 15 to 16 degrees depending on RPM range, and it's launching a little bit better. So interested to see what that does. Well, that's not great.
Alrighty guys, so I'm just going to show you a picture here because I found this and I didn't record anything. I just kind of went into problem solving mode and tried to figure out what was going on and what caused this. So I put the spark plugs in essentially, and I knew the plug was wet. Put the spark plugs in, and it was like pegged lean on the wideband. It was like off the gauge lean. So did a little bit more troubleshooting. Did a compression test. You saw the 90 psi or whatever, 100 psi compression test. And I went to go do a leak down test, and I pulled the valve cover off, and this is what I found. So leak down showed good, and I fixed the rocker, and the compression jumped right back up to like 160, and everything seems like it's fine. The wideband reading came back into normal range, and I'll show you all that stuff later, but just wanted to show you this. This is what I found, and now I'll show you the good compression test.
But the weird part is when I put the new plugs in, it was running super lean, like off the gauge lean. It was like an 18 plus lean air fuel ratio. So when I was driving home, it was like a 14.3. I was idling at a red light for like 2 minutes, and it's like a 14.3 to 14.7, just perfect sitting there idling. And then all I did was swap the plugs, and then it was like off the gauge lean. So really weird. So I went back in, tightened that rocker up, and now everything is back to okay and back to normal how it was. So I did put a different push rod in there. The push rod wasn't bent, but it did have a little nick on the top of it. I'm guessing when the rocker turned, it probably nicked the top, but I could catch a fingernail on the top of the push rod. So I decided to change that thing. But other than that, right now everything's fine, and then the compression is back to like over 150. So I give you guys a little start now. I think I fixed that startup flare too. We'll let the wideband warm up a little bit. So that's pretty good. So yeah, never a dull moment, I guess. But I don't exactly know when that happened, which is kind of odd because it was like doing really well before, and then even on the exit to when I was coming back home, took my exit and I was like 2 blocks from home. I did do a couple small pulls like in the neighborhood, but I just can't see that thing popping off like that. And all I did was change the spark plugs, found that thing was wet, and put the new ones in there, and it was like just running like absolute garbage, and it was way lean. So maybe it was happening before, maybe it wasn't. I don't think it was, not even really sure, but it seems like it's fine now. That's it for this one.